In September 1901, at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, crowds lined up to greet the President of the United States. William McKinley stood smiling, shaking hands, when an assassin stepped forward with a pistol hidden beneath a handkerchief. 2 shots rang out. Doctors worked frantically, but medicine at the time had no antibiotics. At first he seemed to improve, but infection spread, and 8 days later McKinley was dead. The third American president assassinated. His killer, an anarchist named Leon Czolgosz, was executed weeks later, but the greater consequence was who took McKinley's place. Theodore Roosevelt, only 42, suddenly became the youngest president in American history. Roosevelt burst into action. He broke up monopolies, built the Panama Canal, sent the Great White Fleet of battleships around the world, and declared that America would act as policeman of the Western Hemisphere. McKinley's death turned America outward. One bullet launched the United States into the role of global power. Across the Atlantic, another death would change the course of war. By 1916, the First World War had already consumed millions of lives. Britain's most famous soldier, Lord Horatio Kitchener, stared down from recruiting posters with the words, "Your country needs you." He had raised an army of 2.5 million volunteers, and on June 5th, he sailed for Russia on a secret mission. But his ship, HMS Hampshire, struck a German mine off the coast of Scotland and sank within minutes. Over 600 men drowned. Only a handful survived, and Kitchener's body was never found. A month later, the Battle of the Somme began. On the first day alone, nearly 57,000 British soldiers became casualties. The bloodiest day in the nation's military history. One mine in the North Sea silenced Britain's strongest war leader, and Europe sank deeper into the trenches. 2 years earlier, another death had already set the world ablaze. In Sarajevo, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary rode in an open car with his wife Sophie. But later, their driver took a wrong turn, and a young nationalist named Gavrilo Princip stepped forward. 2 gunshots ended their lives in seconds. Austria demanded revenge on Serbia. Russia promised protection. Germany pledged support. France and Britain were pulled in. Within weeks, the world was at war. 65 million soldiers mobilized. 37 million became casualties. By the end, 4 empires collapsed: Austria-Hungary, Germany, the Ottomans, and Russia. And the peace treaty that followed planted the seeds of the next global conflict. The death of an archduke and his wife triggered a chain reaction that still defines the modern age. Decades later, another gunshot echoed in Memphis, Tennessee. It was April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. He had given his final speech the night before. "I've been to the mountaintop, and I've seen the promised land." At 6 o'clock, a rifle cracked. King collapsed, and within an hour, he was gone. He was just 39 years old. Riots erupted in over 100 American cities. Washington, Chicago, Baltimore, Louisville, all burned. More than 40 people were killed. Thousands arrested. Without King's steady voice of nonviolence, the civil rights movement fractured.
This nation will rise up.
And the struggle over his vision continues to this day. A president in Buffalo, a general at sea, an archduke in Sarajevo, a preacher on a balcony, each taken in an instant, each leaving behind not silence but shockwaves. Because sometimes history doesn't change with battles or declarations, but rather in an instant. Hope you liked the video. If you have time, let me know in the comments.